Howdy, howdy. Welcome to another episode of We Talk Sports. Joining me today is my co-host Owen Fleming, Jacob Pendergraph, and me, host Dom Siani. It's been a while since we did a We Talk Sports. Obviously, last week me and Owen were both
Yeah, you had to get the flu.
That wasn't the flu, Jacob.
just
That's
happened.
a
We
little
tried.
exaggeration. But we are back. We have a lot to talk about. A lot we unfortunately didn't get to due to our sickness, but let's talk about it. Obviously, Super Bowl matchup has been set for about over a week. And also, did you guys watch the Pro Bowl?
No. The Pro Bowl hasn't been relevant for a while.
no, that
The
is-
Pro Bowl lost relevance when they made it flag football instead
Yeah.
of normal cool football.
Oh yeah,
Even when it was normal cool football,
It
wasn't
is
great.
a dead event, and I wouldn't blame me. I definitely did
I
not.
think the last time I watched the Pro Bowl was when Roger Bros first opened.
Wow, that is a while.
Yeah.
But but anyway, yeah, conference championship Sunday went by, and a lot of reactions, mixed emotions. Obviously, a bit tampered down after a week or so. So, what are your thoughts on it?
It's the most boring matchup
This is
possible.
the worst Super Bowl I have ever witnessed. The worst Super Bowl I have ever seen. Like, this Super Bowl is going to be terrible. At least the first times it was Chiefs versus Eagles, the Eagles were exciting to watch. And now it's just a bunch of tush push and hand it to Saquon and have him run for a bajillion yards.
Absolutely, it is the most just why Super Bowl, like the one that we all feared could be, mostly because of the Chiefs returning, but is the one that just nobody wanted, and yeah, it's upsetting. The Bills' loss was heartbreaking a little bit, just because it felt like they were.
Phantom 15-yard roughing the passer.
Yeah. I mean, it was a close game.
It was a
and
close
just
game.
They weren't able to beat the defense in the end.
No, the mistake they made was they
Yeah.
left it into the hands of the officials. And we all know who's the side the officials are going to be on. I don't care
That's
what
true.
they
That's
say.
true.
I don't care what the ref association says. There are clear and easily discernible patterns with the referees' calls going towards Kansas City every time.
That's true, but also they had that drive down the field in the end. They had an opportunity.
yeah.
They could have won the game.
They have an
Josh
opportunity.
Allen couldn't get it done.
I don't think if you're blaming Josh Allen for not getting it done, I need you to wipe those glasses.
I mean, I'm just
because-
telling you what happened. I mean,
Josh Allen
he
played
played
well.
well.
Played
he
a
played
really
well.
good game. He's played really well against the Chiefs. The only issue is that his team, it is a team sport, the ultimate team sport that is football, and his team failed him in the end.
That is true. He
the
didn't catch that pass.
I am sick and tired of the defense for the Bills always letting these Chiefs receivers wander around, letting them get open, and letting Mahomes basically dinking and dunking to get into winning range, and for Josh Allen to basically be Superman every time he is on the field. And obviously, the big kind of culprit to this loss was that yardage call that should have been a first down, and if they've said that looking back on it, it should have been a first down, but it wasn't. And that moment that we all watched, that was when I was like, that could be the turning moment that basically gives the Chiefs, and it did. The Chiefs scored right after that and made it a 7-point game, and then the Bills went down the field, scored, tied the game up. And the Bills' defense did what they do, and that's been to the point where they were breaking. They only allowed a field goal, meaning that
Just needed to score a field goal.
they needed a field goal. But that last drive, which I would say was more on play calling than anything, because the last play of the game, Josh Allen did everything he could for that last play. And I don't know why his blockers did not block the blitz or even read it. Like,
I think they just didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
The play call that Spagnuolo had driven up was like a fake out, so I think they thought they were going to go back in coverage, but with the play call, actually, they just ran all directly at the line, and they weren't prepared for it, I believe.
it is a tragedy that is all but just Bills. I mean, if Josh Allen was probably on a different team that isn't the Bills, he'd probably be in the Super Bowl by now.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, that's what happened last Sunday, and I've kind of moved away from it. I'm not really as ref aided as probably Pendy over here is. But I definitely would say that that call definitely helped momentum swing to the Chiefs.
Well, of course.
To the reporters calling out Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce's and the refereeing officials, you're doing God's work. Keep it up. It's very entertaining.
Just do your best.
All right, but moving on, I think we're done with that. We don't want to get too into that debacle. But let's talk about Jacob's very own Washington Commanders, as if you known, he had them winning that Sunday game, and not only did they lost, they got a 50 bomb on their heads. So that's got to be tragic for you.
It's very sad.
To the Eagles, your rivalry. It's no words.
The referees were terrible. No, honestly, no excuses. The first drive looked promising. We converted on two fourth downs, which was impressive. And then we couldn't get any momentum going after the Eagles went back to the same crutch of a play of handing it off to Saquon Barkley.
You didn't have a run defense.
We did not have a run defense.
Frankie Louvu.
So we either had Frankie Louvu. I got mixed feelings about this guy now. He's an exciting player to watch. And I see all of this hate coming from the Eagles fans, crybabies, talking about, Frankie Louvu could have hurt Jalen Hurts or whatever. We don't care. You want to keep going back to this absolute crutch of a play called the tush push or the brotherly shove. It's stupid. It's stupid. And then you create an unbeatable play, which is really just stupid. There's no skill involved. It spits in the face of football fans because it makes us look like a bunch of dudes just pushing a ball around. It's a crutch of a play, and you get mad at Frankie Louvu for, obviously after the third or the fourth time it was getting a little bit ridiculous.
Well,
but
the ref said that if he kept
we'll
doing
get to
it,
that
he'd
later.
give it
Don't
back.
worry.
Imagine the Chiefs were looking at him and we're like, oh, really?
Yeah, no. But you get mad at Frankie Louvu for, jumping on Jalen Hurts like that. What do you expect? You put him in a position where you got to be desperate, you got to be creative for him to stop these plays. And, you're going to go cry about it? It's a crutch of a play. You Eagles fans should be ashamed of yourselves. And screw A.J. Brown. Screw A.J. Brown. But I am glad that Marshawn Lattimore has a fight buddy now, so.
Well,
If he's even on the team next year, he was
Yeah.
getting cooked that whole game.
He was getting
getting
at the
fried.
site
It was
for
worse
He
than
every
is
blown
coming
play.
off of an injury.
He was.
So
He was.
hopefully
Yeah,
he'll
hopefully be better next
he'll
year.
have a lot of time to lock in over this postseason. Just kind of now he's got his bearings adjusted. He knows kind of what he's doing, how to help the team out. So hopefully he does a lot better in this offseason. He gets a lot of work done with Dan Quinn, and kind of maybe in the draft we get some cornerbacks and some safeties who can kind of assist him and back him up there.
Well, Washington definitely has some areas which they can address. They do have the resources to do it, so I see
we
no
do have
reason
a
why they can't
very,
be
very
better
large
next
cap
year.
space. Yeah.
They can sign the offense pretty good. You might want to invest in an O-line
or
member
in
or
a
something,
receiver
but,
number two. To pair with
but you
McLaurin.
definitely have a path to coming back
Yeah.
next year. It just depends on if they can stay clutch.
We have our franchise quarterback, and I
Yeah.
think that was the
that's
biggest.
a big
That
thing.
is the most important thing to do when you're trying to, in a way, start a franchise like that, and capitalizing on that on the quarterback is very important.
And he didn't get catastrophically injured in a
No,
playoff
he
game
didn't.
like the
He
last
didn't.
franchise
No, he didn't.
quarterback they had.
And I think now that we have our franchise quarterback, this was year one of a rebuild, and we almost went to the freaking Super
Yeah,
Bowl.
no one had you coming.
Nobody had us going that far. Y'all had us losing to Tampa Bay and Detroit. And look
We
what
didn't even.
happened.
They didn't even. Yeah, we
I
didn't
was
even,
right on you losing to the Eagles.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. Well, you're one and. You're
No,
one.
I was 2-2
Oh,
by
you're
this
2
week,
and 2?
buddy.
You were two. He
Mhm.
was 2 for 2.
Respect me.
So
Yeah,
he
yeah.
was better than all of us. Actually, Jacob went winless, and fortunately. But I would definitely say that the Commanders' future is very bright,
Yes.
and you should be very proud of the season. It is a unexpected season. It is by far the best season that a rookie quarterback, in terms of both individual success, it might not be as good as like Herbert's rookie season, but in terms of individual success that led to team success, this is probably the best it has gotten. And it's gotten so close that it almost made the NFL have their first ever rookie quarterback.
I'm really bummed that the
Yeah, that would have been a
wasn't the
nice
one to
story.
break that
That would have
record.
been a nice story.
It would have been like the
It would have
perfect
been
rookie
a
season. but-
really good story. But obviously, the Eagles were just a better team. Their run is really good. Saquon played a really good game. Not his best, but definitely still pretty good, over 100 yards.
I mean, it was pretty after that field goal that Washington took on that long first drive,
I don't
and
know
then
why we didn't
Saquon
go for it.
immediately
Like-
scoring on that. That was a pretty bad omen for the whole
And-
game, all things
And
considered.
that is going to be a factor when we're talking about the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and the turnover game was atrocious.
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you
The
did give up
fumbles
some
did
bad
not
fumbles.
Do us any
Yeah.
favors,
Yeah.
so.
So let's go into our next segment. We're going to get through this one rather fast, but this is going to be talking about the Super Bowl and how it's going to go. I know you guys are really excited by the expressions on your face. So a matchup we were hoping never happened, as we said in the beginning, but we're going to get, and we're going to definitely say it's going to be the most intense hate watch
Oh, absolutely.
probably for
I don't
all
care.
time.
I don't care. I'm rooting for the Eagles, but if Jalen Hurts throws like 3 interceptions, I won't be upset. If Patrick Mahomes gets sacked really, really hard, I won't be upset.
It's basically
if Saquon
the-
Barkley runs for 40 million yards again,
Pretty
I
cool.
won't be upset.
I will
That'd be
be I
nice.
will be rooting for that game, just Saquon doing it, just because it's kind of feels like he's on a mission to kind of just like, I don't know, go out there and he's already basically destroyed the Giants franchise and made that fan base basically spin.
Yeah.
But it just seems he is the most, at this moment, unstoppable force that seems like no one can in fact stop him. Rather, they have to contain him. And that's exactly what the Chiefs are going to have to do in order for them to get the three-peat.
It'll be
And
definitely interesting to see how they call that.
it would be interesting just to see how Spags does it. He's been a mastermind in defense, so far has been making his legacy arguably one of the best, if not the best, coordinators in the NFL's history.
Yeah.
But it's going to just depend on how well they can handle the run. Obviously, the Eagles are going to focus a lot on the heavy run game, but they also have to get more creative with the pass game because the Chiefs are going to be ready for the running game. So they got to be a hybrid, and the Chiefs for them kind of have to take on that Eagles defense that's pretty good, better than probably the best defense they probably have played. I want to say all postseason, maybe Texans argued in there, but for sure this is going to be a harder matchup for the Chiefs. But they're hoping that the Eagles are going in terms of a similar way that the Rams did in 2019, which is shut down their defense and just pick apart and roll on offense. So I would say.
I think for the Eagles to win this Super Bowl matchup, they need to establish the run game, which obviously with Saquon Barkley will not be difficult, and they need to rattle Patrick Mahomes early,
Of course.
Exactly.
which is what every team that has played the Chiefs this season has failed to do so far.
They tried.
So
Just-
it'll be interesting to see if they can get it done. The Eagles' defense is scary, especially when they're coming after the ultimate title of the Super Bowl. So I think that if the Eagles' defense can lock in and maybe get a couple sacks on Patrick Mahomes, pick him off once or twice in the first quarter, maybe get a couple 3-and-outs without the referees interfering, then I think that they'll have a pretty solid shot at securing the keys to victory.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think as long as the Chiefs have Patrick Mahomes, they have a big benefit in terms of offensive planning.
Referees.
Yes, they do have the referees, but Mahomes is also a fantastic quarterback,
He
even
is
if we
one
don't
of the
like his
best.
actions sometimes.
Crybaby.
I didn't say you're wrong. I'm just saying he's also a great quarterback. I mean, the Chiefs' offense, they don't have the big names on the paper like the Eagles do, but they're a well-oiled machine. It takes a lot to get them off their game. And their defense, as long as they have Spags calling the shots, is very strong. It is just a question of are they going to be able to contain the dual threat on the Eagles, Saquon and A.J. Brown. If they can do that, then obviously they would win the game. But I think they probably have the better shot in my mind just because
They
they're
have the
so
referees
clutch
backing
and
them.
they have the refs backing them up.
They do have.
It takes a lot to knock the Chiefs off their game during the
does.
Super Bowl.
It does. That's why only one in particular has done it, and even them they can do it. At
And that was
Arrowhead.
the GOAT, Tom Brady. I mean, we
Well,
don't have
we're
Brady walking back
for
through that
regular
door.
season wise, in terms of even this year, it's only been not counting the final game of the year where they didn't play anybody, But the only one that they could do it was the Bills at Buffalo. But now it's going to be on the Eagles, who are a good team, haven't lost a game since what, like October?
Yeah, it's been a while.
So they're also coming in really hot, but it really is going to depend on that defense and the offense consistently. But moving away, we are going to do our predictions before going into our final story of the day. Who do you got for the Super Bowl?
I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs. I believe they served me well last week. You know, I know y'all might take the Eagles, but I think the Chiefs have the overall better quarterback. I think they have the reffing officiating on their side as well. They've got a strong playbook. I think the Chiefs are going to come out and get the first three-peat in NFL history.
It's I will say it's very likely, and I think that I can't say that it's not going to happen because deep down I think it's going to happen. I am going to go with the Eagles just because the NFL sometimes can be very different and unpredictable to me. Different from the NBA, like it might not be as clear cut. The story's there, but it's maybe not as consistent. But I'm going to take the Eagles. Might bite me, but yeah. What about you, Jim?
I've got the Eagles. I hate, as much as I hate the Eagles for doing that to my Commanders, I hate Kansas even more. So I got the Eagles winning by something stupid in the fourth quarter.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, we're going to move on to non-football news. Surprising. First time on We Talk Sports. I don't think you guys know this, but a big trade, probably in the entire decade, has happened over the weekend in the Luka Doncic trade to the Los Angeles Lakers. I'm wearing a Lakers shirt underneath this, so you can't really see. But big time trade, probably the biggest of the decade. What happened, and what were you guys doing when this news dropped?
Congratulations, Jerry Jones. You're no longer the worst GM in Dallas.
I mean, I had just taken my melatonin. You know, I was getting ready for bed.
Yeah.
I had laid down. I was going to sleep. My phone starts buzzing, and then I ended up not sleeping for like another hour, just trying to process what had happened.
I was making a bowl of mac and cheese and I just finished watching the Lakers-Knicks game.
Yeah.
And I was just finished making a bowl of mac and cheese. I was going to watch actually the first Captain America movie for the night before I went to bed.
Yeah.
And then I was like, let me go look at my phone, pull up Instagram. First thing I see is breaking news, shows Luka and Anthony Davis face on the graphic. And I thought first, I was like, wait, is this like talking about like, oh, Luka's going to replace AD for the All-Star game or something like that? And then I look at it, and it's Shams reports Anthony Davis and Luka Doncic trade, and I was like, what?
I thought he was hacked. I mean,
a lot
it
of
just
people
didn't
did.
seem real.
And then once he came on to SportsCenter, I was like, oh my gosh, they're getting Luka, who is entering his prime, and are sending away. Love Anthony Davis, absolutely love him, but
he's in his 30s.
he's in his 30s. He's love him, but he's a bit injury prone, and he's going to be in about 3 years no longer in that physical stage and is going to be seeing a massive decline, whereas Luka is 25 years old and is going to be entering his prime with the Lakers. I mean, you can't have said anything. The fact that they turned the Anthony Davis trade into a championship in Luka Doncic and only gave up another first-round pick in 2029, basically when Luka's in his prime, talk about the most lopsided trade. Without even looking at results right now, it is by far just a lopsided trade, and the Mavs GM should be fired and really never considered hired ever again.
I've been reading about like the trade negotiations that went down. It basically seems like Rob Pelinka just gaslighted this man into giving him Luka.
No other talks. This was like
he was like, let's just keep it between us, man. You don't need to call any other teams. You know, Luka's really not that great of an asset. And then the Mavs, he just fell for it because he seems to have just had in his head that Luka wasn't going to take them anywhere, despite them making the finals last year. So he decides, I like Anthony Davis. He was one of my favorite players back when I was running a shoe department.
And then they say defense wins championships, and yet it's like you were in a finals last year.
You were in the finals. Yeah. You almost won the championship.
Unbelievable by the Mavs. But that is, in fact, going to do it for today's We Talk Sports episode. Thank you guys once again for joining me, and thank you guys for tuning in. We will be back next week talking about the Super Bowl and anything else that happens. This has been We Talk Sports. See you next week.
Go Cats.
Go Cats.
Fly Eagles fly.